All right, everyone, welcome. Once again, we got a best of 3, and yes, Celestials are involved, Infernals and Vanguard, both involved here. It's Bosse versus Captain Alex, Tank 11, from like, I think the round of 8 there, from the quarterfinals there, which is pretty cool. Sorry about things not going up on Friday and things being delayed. No EPT this morning. My PC very much died, so I lost some stuff, and we're getting caught up. Anyways, we're going to start on a pretty common map here, Broken Crown. And again, I'm given to understand that Bosse is going to play Vanguard. He's going to play Infernals in this matchup, but we're going to start with Vanguard. And really, the big thing is we get to take a look at how both matchups look against a Celestial that isn't parting. That's the important thing. Because parting, of course, is extremely good, but very much changes the way the balance works. If he beats everyone 100% of the time, I mean, he doesn't really care. That's not really a fair shake now, is it? But if we go and take a look, and maybe the game's a little bit more even. So remember, of course, when we saw Celestials versus Vanguard, Parting did it. He went very quick arc ship, very quick arc station, actually, excuse me. Got into vectors as quickly as possible. That was the idea. You get a bunch of vectors, you move them across the map, you're faster than anything the Vanguard player can make, and that's how that works. On the flip side, we see Vanguard players, they're going for these hedgehog openings because that's very good. And also, well, it's just really good. Also, you talk to players, Tucked Albino or some of the other Mixu, some of the other top Vanguard players, and they're going to say, if I don't go hedgehogs, I die. Bio's not very good. So it's kind of you win some, you lose some, kind of a mixed setup here. I don't really know what to talk. Yeah, it's a kind of a, there's one thing that's really good. The rest of it, maybe a little bit less so. But we are also not really seeing Captain Alex go for that big aggressive, or not even aggressive, but this play where he starts to swallow the map up. As much as we see Parting do, Parting goes and he has the arc ship on the map quite rapidly. At the very least, he'll go sit it down outside of the Luminite camp so we can get some extra mining, some resources early. But we're not really seeing that. This is a full wall off here coming out of Captain Alex early on because he's worried about the hedgehog spam, maybe some scouts, something like that. So he's walling off one side of his base, and it seems like Bosse here is aware of that. So he's going to go mine out the right side, and these hedgehogs are already starting to get a little annoying. Singular hedgehog and no upgrades just yet. No promotions just yet, but getting damage done. A little bit damage done on top of this, the collection array. So it's going to force the Morph Core back and just continue to be as annoying as possible. Now, you put down the arc ship, and that anti-ground apparently isn't going to hit the scout. Are we out of power? We may be out of power. I'm not totally sure, but this pressure is just, oh, this is horrible. So there's a sentry post going down. This is going to be turned into a repair-o-matic. This is just going to be, every time the hedgehogs dive in, there's going to be a scout popping out, and, well, that's going to be that for the time being. So we're seeing stuff being made. Of course, this Morph Core trying to be as defensive as possible, but it really doesn't do much of anything. And now the laser gets turned on. That's a 45, or that's, I think, about 30 seconds as the Morph Core barely stays alive. That's about 30 seconds where, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be hard for this pressure to happen. It's going to be hard for the hedgehogs to really dive in, but it's not like the damage isn't going to be repaired by the repair-matic eventually. So the big question now as we take a look at this is, well, how does the Celestial choose to respond? So the hedgehogs are repairing now. This is expected. This is how this goes. And there we go. 3 vectors on the map. We should see a couple more get started soon. They're going to try to dive on top of this. Blinks one away. Going to get, or at least get the energy right back up. Second one blinks out. But already, again, this is the difference between, say, Parting and someone else. He's going to lose these vectors very early because remember, again, when they blink, they take more damage. So you blink him out of the way. Hedgehogs pull back. You should renew the blink. You should be able to go, and you should just cancel that as quickly as possible so they don't take the bonus damage, and then at the very least maybe the vectors live a little bit better. But as it stands, critical mass isn't being made here. This pressure coming out of our Vanguard player, now it's 4 hedgehogs. They're level 3, and eventually we can expect to see Bosse go take his natural. But for right now, again, you're just going to see that dive into the main base. Yes, there are more energy batteries, so the vectors are going to do what they can. One Oh man, the prime bastion already taking a lot of damage there. One vector blinks away. We should start to see more coming out soon. There's a couple more. That prime, again, the prime bastion's dead, but now there are 5 vectors on the field. Is this enough? I don't think so. Certainly with 2 of them taking bonus damage right there. And again, we really need to see that that needs to get reset. That's the info. Like, that is something that has to be done here as Captain Alex wants to make sure he stays alive. And, well, we're seeing the power of the Hedgehogs. If you don't do that, everything is going to get chased down. All the vectors are dead. We're going to see the Therium extractor get taken out here. Forgetting the name of the structure at the moment. And yeah, there's a laser cannon, but guess what? It doesn't cover everything. And these vectors, as they pop out one at a time, they're just going to get dove upon. There's not a lot here available. Yes, there is this laser cannon that's going to last just a little bit longer, but vectors, they're just going to get dove upon anyways. The Therium outpost gets taken down, so even that laser cannon's not going to do all that much. And, well, also production's being pretty heavily hampered here. The Bastion's not going to go up. This is death. Captain Alex is extremely dead, and I think it's really instructive. I think it's really interesting to see how this matchup works when the Celestial player is not partying, because it really is all about tempo as much as anything else. And we are seeing certainly some micro inefficiencies that Captain Alex could be making that he isn't going for, such as when he blinks forward, once the hedgehogs go away, now he's going to blink back onto them so he doesn't take that bonus damage. That's actually incredibly important. So these hedgehogs, for the time being, they are trapped in the main base. The Arc ship is placed in a better position, but at the end of the day, I do believe that Captain Alex did win that, or that Captain Alex lost that game number 1. Oh no, Captain Alex took game 1. Okay, I guess Bosse left. He lost all of its hedgehogs and decided that wasn't really worth doing. So now Bosse swaps over to his main race. We're gonna see some Infernal action here. Oh, and this map is painful for Infernals after a certain point. Lost hope. And really the problem is, so Celestials are very much a Luminite race. They're kind of like Vanguard in that way. They don't need a ton of Therium to really get going. You're kind of fine with this lower amount of Therium. Meanwhile, for Infernals, you get these 2 Therium patches. You're gonna get 3 base. We're gonna 4 base Luminite, 2 base Therium. And then the rest of the Therium that you want to get, you either got to go and try to take another quadrant, which can be a little hard, or you have to take the middle. And with how much map control you lose, that can be rather difficult. So again, not saying this map is impossible, but just saying my personal experience has struggled as an Infernal just a little bit. But I'm very curious to see how we're going to see how Bosse takes the pedal to the metal here against our Celestial player. The way this normally works, if you're talking to, say, Theory, the way he approaches things is he's going to go turtle up on his 3 bases, put a bunch of Shroud Stones down, get a Wraith Stone. Eventually, you're going to see all these Kree rolling in for run-by, so you leave a little bit of gap in this Shroud Stone wall. You put your army behind that, the Kree run in, they get taken down, and you just kind of add efficiency on lower base counts and try to make that happen. We saw him try to do that against Parting, and Parting was just too good, too efficient. And that didn't really work out for him all that well. So for now, already different interesting things. It's going to be a triple Conclave opener from Bosse, which, again, if you remember the Theory series, that's not what we saw happen. Gaunts have been pretty heavily nerfed in this playtest. Not impossible, but they no longer invest. And their upgrade just makes them faster. And they already do very little damage. It's 8 damage a shot, and yeah, they bounce, and there's something there. But again, Gaunt damage isn't really incredible. It's passable, certainly. But they can get nuked down. They can get very heavily nuked down by Argents, and well, we're going to have to see what happens. It does seem like we're going to see some map control play coming out of Bosse, actually. With this triple Conclave, with Hexen still on the field, should be able to get a couple Fiends going. And if he can go and take these Luminite camps pretty early, that even if eventually he's going to have to cede the map control to the Celestial player, even if that is true, getting these Luminite camps early on, it gives you about 25 Luminite from killing all the creeps. And you start to mine, you start to generate a little bit more. So, hey, he's going to get something here with the initial Gaunt, with the Hexen. So he's going to start to develop that economy a little bit faster. That should power him into his 3rd base, get that 2nd Therium, and going from there. So what are we looking at on our Celestial side? Single Bastion opening, triple base opening here as we see collection arrays going down on all 3 Luminite setups. So a lot of money on the way. And a force projection matrix going down. So higher upgrades. more highly is that not is that a mainframe? Pretty sure that's force project. Yeah, it's got energy to it. So force projection matrix going down. So there's going to be upgrades pretty early coming out for our Celestial player, going a little bit more on the high-tech route. And this is fine, I think. Again, he's in this setup where he's got all 3 bases, playing very defensively, and it's really interesting to see a kind of a more defensive style from a Celestial player. Generally, I feel like I see them try to play a little aggressive in this style, you know, take map control in the middle. And that's how we saw Parting play as well. But Captain Alex gonna again play a little bit more defensively, taking as much of the camps as he can. Vision camp in the middle, so he doesn't really get distracted too much. Luminite on the left and the bottom. So again, starting to mine more Luminite that powers him into his 3rd bait faster, that powers into more imps faster, just developing this economy. And this is maps can snowball. I'm not saying this is going to happen one way or the other, but if you start to get so much money off the map, those advantages can snowball just a little bit. Now, is it going to happen here? I don't know. I'm really just curious to see where exactly it is that Captain Alex is going for. So let's see. Lots of yeah, okay. Well, we should have expected this one. Lots of mainframes going down. We should see the Kree upgrade getting started here, and the roly-poly-olies should get started pretty soon. And the way this generally plays is all the Krees pop out. That is so many mainframes, but the Kree pop out, you roll them into Luminite lines, and they unfold, they do splash damage, they die, they do more splash damage. And it becomes very difficult for the Infernal player to properly handle what they want to go. So, properly handle all the harass. So, for now, Ritual Shrine goes down here for Bosse, and I'm going to assume that's just going to be for the Gone upgrade for Reaper Rush, so they move around a little bit faster. That makes sense. As we're gonna see the Kree again starting to hit the field. The first units that have been made by Captain Alex at 6 minutes in. It's only just now the Kree, and now their upgrades are ready as well, so they can run, they can roll. I don't know. Someone said they're Banelings. I think they're more like Beyblades. I don't know. Although Beyblades like spin horizontally and these spin vertically, so I don't really. Anyways. Regardless, lots and lots of Kree start to hit the fields. They run through the middle, and they remember there is vision here. Bosse is aware of what's happening. And now he's kind of at this position where he doesn't want to fight this army for just a little bit. You probably want Hellborn. Weavers don't do a ton against this. Remember, this is just going to be a lot of Kree. They don't have the high HP numbers that Weavers really like to go kill things. Instead, they roll in. They don't die for a little bit. They're tanky, but in a bit of a different way. And the Weavers aren't really going to do that for you. So for now, Gaunt's nice setup on the high ground. Wraithstone's on the way, but it's not here yet. And you know, a decent amount of the Kree already taking damage, already going down. Now backside, looking for that run by. And this looks a little bit more promising, but it's not like... Oh, there we go. Never mind. There are a bunch of Fiends here. They're only on the Therium, getting on top of these Gaunts as well. And the explosions... Oh, well... Good news, the Imps didn't die. Bad news, well, decent amount of the Gaunts die. Even still, this has been handled really nicely. That Wraithstone actually doing a lot, providing a lot of value there, just to make it so you take 2.5% damage per second. Make sure the roll by, I guess, make sure the Kree just move a little bit slower. And when you put those two together, all of a sudden, well, that first attack, and that was a lot of Kree. It's not exactly the most, that wasn't exactly the most cost effective. And again, this can be difficult to do. This can be a pretty difficult thing to manage as the Kree just run in. They're hard to micro against. You can't really outrun them until you get Reaper Rush. So now they have map control. Now that means that all these creep camps the Bosse worked so hard in the early game to get, well, he's going to lose control of them for a little bit, but he's had them for 7 minutes or so. Now, as the Kree think about diving in, we can see the power of this Wraithstone action doing a really nice job. Hellborn popping out as well. The splash damage just not really landing. Great micro here from Bosse as he makes sure that, again, as the Kree run in, he loses a Hellborn for it. And you'd rather not, but everything else stays alive. And that is, again, you continue to do this enough times, it's going to be, oh, this is scary, though. Works out really nicely. That being said, Kree going to come in from a big flank here, trying to get on top of the backside. Hellborn adding in a little bit more damage. And look at this. The Gaunts, they're going to run through the trees. That means that there's only one, there's such little area of effect that the Kree can find. So the splits, again, are going to be really nice. Lots more of these Kree are going to explode, but the Gaunts are losing their numbers. And this is, again, where it can be just a little bit difficult. I mean, yes, Gaunts are cheap. They only cost about 5 Therium. But the splash damage is a real deal, and even if you kind of split against them as well as you can, the splash damage, the what is it, the 3 seconds where they're flashing alive before they explode, that can be pretty difficult. So Bosse is holding on to this really nicely. But what I would love to see, and we haven't for just a little bit because we're taking a look at what's happening on the map, I would love to see if there's any sort of tech transition, animancers on the field maybe, something like that. And the answer for now is we don't have the tech for it. There's no, what's it called? There's no haven. There we go. That allow you to get the animancers out. So that is a little bit annoying. And again, Krieg will go for more of a run by. We are starting to see more brutes hit the field because they can tank this a little bit better. They're not nearly as squishy, and especially if you get the armor upgrade, that means they take 10% less damage. That can be pretty nice. And Magmadon's out as well. So Bosse, again, he's only on 3 bases. He's going to start to take the 4th Luminite, but again, you do need that Therium. And we're starting to see him round out his tech a little bit more. Brute's on the way. Magmadon's on the way. Just anything he can do to disrupt this Kree spam. Magmadons are really nice because, especially once you get the Thunderhoof Tremors, once you get that Stomp upgrade, they can make it a little harder for the Kree to maneuver. And splash damage is really nice against him. So, again, Bosse just playing as defensively as he can. We're going to see the Felhogs. And as much as anything else, their job is just to go to trigger the Kree to attack and make him cut backwards. So for now, high ground, the Gaunts are going to get pulled away. Magmadon's on the right side, slowing everything down. And really, the Wraithstone doing a great bit of damage there. So again, we're not seeing that damage you want to see from the Kree. Yes, they are trading army for army, but not efficiently so. So, now that we have this extra base set up, a bunch of different Shroud Stones, Wraith Stones done, it's a 4-base Inferno player, and the Celestial looks like it started expanding north. So this looks like it's 5 Luminite, I'm pretty sure, for Captain Alex. Still probably only 2 Therium. I don't know if he's, I don't think he's taken any of the north side Therium or the northwest Therium. And I don't think he's moved into the center of the map either. So there is that. Right? Not a ton of Therium on it. Oh no, Kree got a little stuck. But now that the Kree spam is over for the time being, the Magmadons are in the field, which really do help out against this. Now that the Magmadons are on the field, now that Hellborn are out, now that this is starting to get developed that much more, we're gonna see. Okay, we're gonna see Bosse start to develop himself a little bit better onto the map. That's a ton of havens going down, making sure you have that healing potential on top of everything else, just to make sure that when the army goes home, you're going to be pretty happy. But I think this is going to be to enable the animancers to pop out, which is it's a lot of power, especially once you can get to level 3. Sure, the smoke is really nice, but having that, what do they call it? The singularity. Having a singularity on the field is a great big black. It's not a stun, but it is a slow. It's a ton of damage. A great big black hole that makes it pretty hard to fight into, and the range is actually pretty incredible. And I'm sorry, those aren't havens. My bad. I'm looking at them. Those are Guardian Xi. There we go. So, fulfilling just a bit of a different role. But anyway, Kree now going to try to get on top once again. The Shroudstone's not quite ready yet, but the Magmadon Thunder of Tremor means that it's so hard for them to take these fights. So much AoE, so much stun means that a lot of them are going to start blinking red anyways. Shroudstones are here. So much of these Kree are going to start to fall down, and the Magmadon just not taking a lot of damage. Roots tanking for the front line as well. And this is, again, yes, the Gaunts have died. And yes, some of the army here of their Inferno player is going down. But if you look at how this goes, that was almost the entire army of the Celestial attacking into that. And yeah, sure, the Gaunts died. Some of the Hellborn died. You're pretty happy about this. You're pretty happy about that one. And okay, so interesting as we see the development here. These Argents, for me, have always felt like this early game unit. And yes, you can get an upgrade that gives them all their energy back so they can get more damage. But they always kind of felt like this early game unit. I don't really see them get played in the mid or late game. They're very much tier 1. They're the first unit you can possibly buy. But it seems like for the time being, our Captain Alex thinks that, okay, well, they, you know what, they do a lot of burst damage. They can cut through some of these higher HP units maybe. And we're going to try to see this Wraithstone get taken down before it turns into a Wraithstone. But again, there we go. All the Kree are going to get taken down, at least for the time being. All the Kree are going to get taken down. And that, again, the cost effectiveness is just not really here for the Celestial. More shrines are going to start to go forward as we're trying to develop this forward position. And yes, one of them falls. Okay, sure, fine. But there are so many more of that came from the Krees. They continue to rally forward. They're dying before they get their damage done. The Gaunts can continue to kite away here. And yes, the Wraithstone's dead. That's kind of unfortunate. That's not... You really want to keep these Wraithstones alive. But ever so slowly, the positioning that's been available for Bosse is just... He's developing himself further and forward on the map. Further and further onto the map. So, 6 bases for Captain Alex. Or 6 collection arrays. I think he's only still on 2 Therium. I think he's probably okay with that. But not going for the Haven, not going for these Animancers, not looking to get the Singularity in Tier 3 is actually a pretty big deal. You really do want to make sure that you have that. That's a lot of power onto the field all of a sudden that knocks down a ton of Gaunts. It makes it really hard to fight. But for right now, I guess we're not going to see that happening. And by the way, the Dragon's out now too, so not a lot of anti-air available for Celestials after a certain point. Yeah, yes, there's the Flayed Dragon, but yeah, you got to build a bunch of Argents, and they're not the best thing. So a bunch of Fiends on the right side, they're gonna find this collection array. I don't think it dies. Well, I don't think it dies yet. The Flayed Dragon is here, and you know, in fairness, the Flayed Dragon is a defensive structure. There we go. That collection array is dead. The Flayed Dragon as a defensive, as a power unit is a little bit less powerful than it might otherwise be because there are no workers on these outlying bases. I don't think, I'm not certain about this, but I'm 95% sure the Prisms don't spawn Fiends when they die. And even in any way, you know, Prisms they're like 3 Prisms per base versus 12 to 20 workers. So you don't get that massive snowball of Fiends once the Dragon's out, which is a pretty big deal. Now we're going to see Saber start to hit the field. One at the front line is not going to get targeted down for the time being. But this Wraithstone here is actually worth a lot. And there we go. Shroudstone main manifests as well. Just as much defensive power as possible. This is the last fight of the Celestials trying to make the game happen. Trying to win this game right now. And the anti-air is still strong enough. And there we're going to see the top bar ability giving you a little bit more energy as well. Making sure these Argents are able to fight as much as possible. And the Infest goes down. Nightfall Infestation popping down on top of all these Argents. And we're going to see, well, the Dragon runs away, but it's going to be fine. Get a little bit more energy. And because it's sitting right on top, it's double Fiend progression, double Fiend creation here off of all the Infest. And at the end of the day, that was a big fight coming out of Captain Alex. Try to win the game, try to fight, just force his opponent off the middle. But now, I mean, look at all this Therium. Captain Bosse's got in the middle of the map. He's got 12 Therium outposts. He's got the Dragon. He's shut down 2 bases of mining economy. And his army's massive. All of a sudden here, Bosse, it's taken him 17 minutes. But he has absolutely gone and cracked this game wide open. We go to game 3. Tied up 1 apiece. And it's fitting that we spawn into the Bone Zone for game number 3. It's going to be Boneyard. We saw pretty awesome late game Celestials versus Vanguard, or Celestials versus Infernals. After how dicey things were in game 1, just Hedgehogs running. It seems like they're doing everything, but then all the Hedgehogs die, and if all the Hedgehogs are dead, you're only on 1 base. You kind of tap out of the game. So Captain Alex won that one. But then, of course, game 2 had the map control early, but didn't trade well enough. And honestly, I don't think he develops his tech quickly enough. It was kind of the story of the game. Tech again, not developed quite early enough, so by the time you're hitting these late games, no Animancers available. Nothing like that. So for now, it's going to be quick 2 collection array. This shouldn't be surprising. You get a, you get yourself a morph core pretty early, so that's got to turn into money. That's just how it's going to be. That's just how it's going to work. But the bigger question is how aggressive we get with the arc ship here. Because if you see Parting go, he's going to go and he's going to pop that top bar ability as quickly as possible. That's going to give him, that's going to knock down the two deer, health camp creeps, which will eventually not be deer, again, being clear. To be clear, you're not going to have that. Eventually, they're going to be marauders, or they're going to be all of these other things. But even still, you're going to go for that. And, well, we're not really seeing Captain Alex. And then obviously, we see Parting go, and he put the arc ship in the middle of the map to try to take the Luminite base as well. And we're not seeing that level of aggression, or that level of speed, greed, map control. Sure. Out of Captain Alex. He's playing a lot more conservative here. And I guess he's worried of maybe some Infernal all-ins, timings, but I don't really see them all that often. We have seen some players go and they try to go triple gaunt and just run across the map and get damage done to the first collection array, which can be a thing. So again, we're seeing this setup where both players, well, Bosse is the one that is actually playing a little bit more aggressively on the map. Now, the other part of Boneyard that can make life a little bit difficult is there are 2 bases that we can see. One, we just saw them, where it's a full high ground. There's no way to get up to it. And that means that it's kind of free for the Infernals for quite a while. Any sort of flying unit or dropship. You can get a Harbinger eventually as an Infernal player, but you don't get them all that quickly. And it's same goes with a bunch of with a Shadow Shrine, getting a bunch of Spriggans out or something. The top bar laser cannon does enough realistically to defend that 80%. To defend that unless it's really, really significant. But by then you're going to have something to respond. So generally what we see is maybe a Bastion goes down so you can start to build a couple units defensively if you need to. But that also is problems because there's no dropship for Celestials. They have no way to get themselves off the high ground once they're there. So it's kind of a blessing and it's a curse. Anyways, for now, Bosse's taking the map. He's got both Luminite setups. He's going to get both Therium setups eventually, I'm going to assume. And just taking the map for what it's worth. Getting all this value from the map, which does slow down Captain Alex just a little bit. But it seems like he's interested in getting into that crease spam as quickly as possible. Now, is that going to work? I don't know. Game 1, it didn't. Game 2, it worked a little bit better. Oh, yeah, I guess I shouldn't say that. It didn't work at all. Game 1, we saw a totally different matchup. I'm apparently hallucinating. I'm ChatGPT. Anyways, 2-base setup here. And this map can also be, or I guess 3-base setup, but this map can also be a little weird. So... Again, you have one Therium mining base right now, and either you can take the one on the low ground outside of the natural, which is definitely something you can do. We're probably going to see Captain Alex go for that. You can also go take the horizontal base. That's Therium and it's Luminite, kind of on the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock position. That also can be a little bit weird. It can be a little bit weird. Something to damage the collection array, by the way. I think it might have just been a single fiend. I'm not totally sure, but it did about half damage. And that being said, the crease spam has been started. We got 3 of them on the map right now. They got the roly-poly-oly upgrade, so they're going to be able to get a little bit more done. 3rd base, again, done here, of course, for Bosse. You've got a Wraithstone on the way in the Luminite line, but it's not ready yet. It's not fully upgraded, so Korea are going to try to get on top of this while the Shroud Stone is depowered, because while you upgrade, yes, Wraithstone's really nice. It slows 2.5% damage per second, but it doesn't do any damage. It doesn't do anything while you're sitting there. So the Wraithstone gets taken down. A couple Kree are going to go and just be annoying. They're going to deny this aggression. And yes, eventually this army of Gaunts should probably be able to force things back. but more Korea going to start to join, and this high ground position is accessible from both sides. So now Korea going to start to dive for it on top of the Gaunts. Decent damage here, really nice damage on top of the Gaunts early on. Now you got a kite away explosion. Is it going to be good enough? Yeah, seems to be. Hexen goes down as well, so you're losing that tier unit for the time being. Shroudstone now going to be made manifest, and that probably makes this defense happen. Another Shroudstone gets made, but it's taken down, and more Korea starting to hit the field here. Shroudstones are starting to go down, even the one that's been summoned. So yeah, this is a defense, but I think this Shroudstone should die. There we go, off the explosion, and the Korea are trading their lives. That's a lot of dead Gaunts. That's a lot of dead Shroudstones. That's a lot of dead imps. That doesn't really feel very good. That being said, seems like for the time being, we are going to slow down. There's no second wave available. Not quite. These Korea, man, they are just swarming. This is what we talked about. It's like, okay, you hit this stage of the game where it's really hard for Infernal players to maintain map control because the Kree spam just, it does so much. They're really hard to deal with because of the fact that even when they die, they don't die, and they do splash damage twice, and yeah, it's worth a lot. So Kree continue to move forward. Eventually one of them is going to start to turn and explode, and we can see it just gets on top of things, and the imps are just not allowed to mine this base. Yeah, okay, there's more explosions. Oh, this doesn't feel good. This is why you try to go, and this is why you try to make sure you get a full wall. This is why you do the double Shroudstone, Wraithstone, slow wall, etc. Because as of right now, I mean, we're seeing lots of damage get made here. More explosions are there on the Fellhogs, and the Wraithstone is doing a lot. We can see that it's not the most visible thing because there's no real particle effect attached to it. But we can see the Kree are much slower under the aegis of that Shroudstone, and that is something. But if Bosse wants to win the game at this point, he's gonna have to go take this game for quite a ride. He's losing that third base, especially with how quickly the celestial economy scales, doesn't really feel good at all. So where exactly this goes, I don't know. But for now, Shrine goes down to the Therium. It's going to be much higher tech response coming out of Bosse at this point, realizing that, yeah, okay, I'm going to have to play this a little bit more closer to the chest. I can't go and take that third base. The run by is just a little bit too strong. And well behind this. Okay, so what do we got? What are we on? 3 bases? I wish it was a little bit more visible when collection arrays went down on top of bases. That would be really nice. I would appreciate that quite a bit. It would make my life a lot easier. But even still, I'm pretty sure, because you can kind of look where there's vision around these setups. I'm pretty certain that this is a triple collection array type of setup. Not totally sure, but that's kind of what it looks like. That being said, of course, it's a 2-base setup for our Infernal player. Eventually, maybe he's gonna go try to take the 12 o'clock base, but it's pretty hard. So again, for now, lots of Therium on the way, lots of static defense here, gone to the front. And I think if you are Captain Alex at this point, you just wait wait for your opponent to move out. So Gaunts are on the field. That's not going to work out particularly well. We're going to see Shrines go, or Shroudstones, excuse me, go forward there. It's not going to work out all that much either. And this is where you go for the engage when the opponent's away from their stacked defense. And even as a Shroudstone gets made manifest, the Kree, now they're going to get stuck up quite a bit. That's not great. And we're seeing this Wraithstone just apply so much. You're making these units that much squishier. The Gaunts doing their splash damage as well. It's a pretty solid fight for an Infernal player, all things considered. The Kree run forward, but they just don't get anything. And yes, they're going to get a Shroudstone at the end because, well, at a certain point, you can't really stop it going down. That's pretty dang worth. That is pretty worthwhile. And again, we saw Captain Alex. What I would really like to see him go for is, I love this aggressive collection array. This actually is such a big deal there. I want to see him develop his tech, get a Haven, get Animancers, go on to that next step because, well, first of all, smoke allows you to be maybe a little bit more mobile on the map, but more importantly, dropping the Singularity on top of a bunch of Gaunts is just really, really strong. It is a tremendously strong spell. It does a lot of damage. It slows them down. They're very squishy anyways. You can kill a lot. But it does seem like we have seen Captain Alex again just get stuck kind of on this tier 2.5 tech. There's no tier 3 at all, but it gets stuck on this mid tier 2. There are sub tiers within a tier of tech, and kind of stuck on this mid tier 2. So now Magmadons are out, making it really hard here for the Kree to engage, and we're gonna see just so much damage on splash damage as well. A lot of these Kree blinking red will fall down. And again, just get some Animancers. Develop to the next level of tech. You got the money. But he's only on single Therium. He doesn't have a fabricator on the Therium on the left side. He's not mining from any of that, which means that if you're only on single Therium, your tech development isn't there. It just doesn't exist. So Gonsko, the guy behind the Magmadon just stomping as much as possible, getting that damage done. And the splits of Bosse are really nice. He's got this higher tech level. Yes, the link nodes are going to turn into offensive nodes, and that static defense can be really nice. There we go. It's called a spark node. We're not at the warp node yet. We're not at the big AoE damage, but the spark nodes, yeah, there's something, but against the Magmadon, they don't really do all that much. Hellborn can fire from range. So the big question really is, where's our tech progression? Where is our tech progression? I just don't see it. This style that we're seeing coming out of our Celestial player just doesn't. It feels like he's Peter Pan. It doesn't really give you all that development in the late game, and Kree running forward. Eventually, you're gonna hit this point where Bosse is slowly creeping forward with Shroud Stones and Wraith Stones and Magmadons and this much more complex army, this much more Therium expensive army, and when you have that one, it becomes really hard to go on a. I wish he'd killed the Spark Node. He's gonna eventually get it, but only one Hellborn was firing. The other one was attacking the energy battery, which isn't all that efficient. But now the position's gonna be given up, and it's not like a ton was mined out of this one. It's not like we're getting all that closer to being mined out. So Kree are gonna try to get on top of this army on the high ground, but that means they're just gonna be victim to the Hellborn firing from the low ground. Morgon's starting to join the fray, and the splits again are really solid. And these Hellborn, they're just smashing the Kree. So this is just not cost effective in the slightest. And yes, this has been a setup where Captain Alex has had more of the map for just a little bit longer. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know that he's had enough of more of the map. That's kind of the big deal. He's starting to finally mine out of 3 Therium patches now. Again, developing that a little bit more. But he's on 5 Luminite. I guess 6, but not for much longer. So he's on 5 Luminite. And in fairness, 5 Luminite versus 2 is a big deal. That is a pretty significant deal there in terms of what you're able to accomplish. So that is something. Is we're going to start to see a mainframe go forward a little, be developed a little bit further forward. Set as the prime mainframe means that Krees are going to be built a little bit closer to the front lines, which actually may make a big difference. Remember, of course, it's not Warp Gate. Can't put it anywhere, but it does give you a little bit more production flexibility, certainly, as we're going to see Kree try to go for a run by, only to realize that there's nothing to run by. Bosse has been playing on extreme cost effectiveness and defensive plays. Only just now is he retaking that third base, and even then, it's not technically you can't even really call it a third base because the main base is mined out. So that's expensive, and we're going to see. Well, Kree are going to try to. They're going to get a vault. That's something. But now they're going to dive in, and there's just not a lot for them to dive. Yeah, there are a couple imps here on the Therium, and got to be careful about that one. But all the Luminite economy on this forward position, we're just seeing a slow death push out of Bosse as he's doing what he can, trying really hard to just play this game as slowly as possible, as defensively as possible. The shrine should be done soon. And once that's done, you start to slowly push forward. So we do see Double Haven now. We should start to see some Animancers pop out here. It'd be really cool to see some Cabals and sneak them in from an angle, steal some Hellborn. That would be sick. That would be super cool. But again, that's 3 levels of upgrades. That can be pretty expensive. You need to get all the way up to Cabal Master. Much like to get the Singularity, you got to be all the way up, all the way up to Animancer Master. Animancer Mastery, whatever it's called. It's a lot of Therium. So now, well, a couple Celestials dive in. They're guaranteed some damage, or a couple Kree. I mean, it's everything Celestials, but you know, Kree are guaranteed damage. That is very much true. They dive in there. They're gonna get that. Well, I guess that's actually not totally true. You can cut away from them, but it's pretty hard for them to not at least get some damage. They're trying to assassinate Alborn here. 250 Therium in the tank would be really nice, but it seems like, yeah, it's going to be okay. And now adding Spriggans into the mix too. So Animances are out. That's important to note here. That Storm, the Singularity you can drop down is really, really useful. It does a lot of damage. It just... You drop one down on a bunch of gaunts and it causes problems. So there we go. That's going to be a lot of damage going down, but it gets targeted down in time. So there is that. Now Kree are going to try to get on top of this army as well. Mainframe should fall. Kree split away again just a little bit. Shroudstone made manifest on the north side. And again, this is just really good fight management from Bosse. Every single time we see this fight, I do like what we see coming out of Captain Alex as well. He sections off some of his Kree and says, okay, these are fine. These are going to explode. This is the value I'm going to find. And then, well, he sectioned off a couple more looking for a flank. So he's got multiple rounds. It's like how, I hate to use this name, but how Life kind of really revolutionized TVZ where against the raid push, where he would commit like a third of his army to go and break down the front line of the Terran and then do it again and again and again. So he would always have an army. It wasn't all or nothing. And it looks like we're kind of seeing that out of Captain Alex in this game. But even still, the Kree, as powerful as they are, they're kind of squishy, and there are so many Hellborn on the map. Well, there we go. Might Nightfall into Infestation as well. It means you're going to see a lot of Fiends, which, yeah, in fairness, are going to pop just as soon as they spawn because of the splash damage. But even still, it's just a little bit more power there, a little bit more damage, and most of the Kree, they're going to get taken down. Animancers thinking about getting, or Spriggans are going to get on top of the Animancers as well. Oh my. Animancers are expensive. But for the time being, overlapping Animancer heal is going to keep things alive. I like this Spriggan. Not only is it, you know, kind of untouchable damage against, say, a lot of Kree or something. You can just attack down. A Kree don't attack up. It gives you high ground vision, which when you're trying to take down that base that we see Bosse trying to remove, again, that high ground position that is extremely hard to dislodge for most of the game. Having that high ground vision is a big deal. So, fourth base, now on the way for Bosse, and there are already a bunch of Kree just sitting in the Therium camp, so I don't know how long that thing's going to last. Remains to be seen. But yeah, 3 Kree right there. Now, what do we have? 1 Spriggan running over. Yeah, no, this is not going to stop this. Even the explosion is going to be enough, so there's the cancel. You're going to have to remake that one. And, okay, damage on a bunch of Gaunts is also pretty nice. Looking to land the explosions, and pop! Bunch of Gaunts go down. So fourth base is going to have to get restarted once again. Kree now into the into the Luminite line once again. One's exploding. More damage to get done here. Oh, God, that hurts. That's actually so much damage. That was, I don't know, 12 of the 16 workers there. So I guess Hellspawn Resurgence is a thing. So you're able to get some Gaunts back up. Or some Fiends back, or some Imps back up. There we go. So at least there's that. And that is so... You know, I've been talking about how Animancers are good and you should probably get them. That is so many Animancers. Probably, maybe even 2. I don't know. 9 Animancers is a lot of Animancers. Is that too much? So finally, the fourth base seems to be roughly established. And again, this kind of Spriggan Gaunt hit squad is kind of cool because, well, the Spriggans, they slow things down. They slow down attack damage. They can do all that. Gaunts are going to have to cut away from this again, but the explosions don't really seem like they're going to hit too hard. The Kree run by doesn't get a lot done. And this Spriggan Gaunt hit squad actually does a lot if you're trying to take bases down. So we're going to have to see how well that one's going to work out. Seems like the north side... What do you want to call that? 11 o'clock Collection array is going to get taken down between the Spriggans and the Gaunts. Yeah, this thing is dead, and it looks like there's no top bar laser, and maybe it's not worth doing. It's not worth kind of spending the energy on if you're worried about attacks later on. So that base will fall. And Celestial economy is kind of weird. I've seen people complaining about how it scales too quickly. It's a problem. Well, by the same dint that it scales quote unquote too quickly, on the flip side, it can be really hard to defend in a late game because you just don't have that army mobility that you would normally like to see. There's no drop ability. There's nothing like that. And by the way, we see Cabals on the field. It's going to be interesting. Are these just going to be to ground the Spriggans to make sure you can fight them? Is that what that is? Are they going to try to get some takeovers? Are they going to have that possession, that whatever it's called, the adverse possession? Are they going to have that? Are they going to go to tier 3 for that? Are they going to get tier 3 upgrades for that one? I don't know. It'd be really cool if they did. Stealing a couple of Hellborn, turning a fight around would be awesome. Or just getting a Magmadon. Stealing a Magmadon, having it trample through a bunch of Gaunts. Big deals on every side. Now, whether it's going to pull it off or not, I don't know. But even still, I'm excited about the potential. So for now, Wraithstone on the way from this 4th base. One base dead for a Celestial player, but he's still on 1, 2, 3. He's only on 3 bases too. It looks like a good majority of his bases, the main base, natural, and the 3rd, have all mined out. So it's only a 3-base Celestial versus a 2-base Infernal. That's actually, considering how cost effectively we've seen Bosse play, it's actually not all that bad. And now the laser's going to go try to ward these Spriggans away. Are they going to get the... I mean, Spriggans just don't do a lot of damage. I don't think they get the base. Do they? I'm not sure whether they got it or not. We're going to have to take a look. They got the base. Okay. So that is now two active collector arrays. The economy is all of a sudden looking really... This is a big army. There's a ton of Animancers. But the economy setup for Captain Alex at this point is looking pretty rough. He floated... And that is another big benefit, right? When we talk about a flexible economy. Unlike other bases... Celestials have bases kind of like StarCraft Terran where they can float them and lift them and mine somewhere else. You can float your collector array up and mine them for more aggressive positions or just mine them around the map when your bases are pressured, when they mine out, whatever it is. And we're seeing Captain Alex use that to full effect. Some of these mined out bases are moving forward to try to take fresh bases, which is nice. It's pretty impactful, but now the top bar ability's gone and these Spriggans are going to go and they're going to find this base on the right side and there's no defense. There's absolutely no defense. We're seeing some link nodes go down, but it's going to be a long time before they get to be spark nodes. And the Spriggan late game is actually doing so much here. So Bosse's on his 4 bases or 2 base mining. He's taking down extra resource collection arrays. But this army from our Celestial player is pretty nasty. I'm not going to make any bones about it. This is what is this? 6 Cabals, a bunch of Animancers. Tons and tons and tons of creep, but they're sitting backwards at the time being. The Hellborn just putting so much damage on the map, and well, the fight is just not very good. The good majority of the army here is we're gonna see Magmadon run forward just buy a little bit more time. A good majority of this Celestial army is not really fighting. Now we're gonna start to see some of those singularities go down, but this Hellborn just behind the wall are doing so very much here. The Shroudstone doing so much here. The Wraithstone, there we go, doing so much damage now. Spriggans from the backside. Yes, they're going to get dealt with, and we're going to see, well, I mean, singularities are really, really good. But the Gaunts are going to run forward. They're going to target down all the Animancers, or at least all but one of them. There's one singularity that remains. At the end of the day, that was all the create. That was all the... Well, I guess there's one Animancer, but it's going to get taken down in just a second. I think that was far more impactful. I do think, genuinely, I think that was far, far worse for our Celestial player than it was for Bosse. And now Argents are going to try to get on top of these, but they don't have energy. So their empowered shots just aren't really there anymore. They're going to try to chase down what they can, but they're all dead. Again, this late game is just not... doesn't really seem to be there for Captain Alex at the moment. Or that being said, Bosse just plays the late game I guess just a little bit better. Because now he's going to break down this last collector array. We have 3 on the map, I think. So the economy, again, pretty heavily diminished. 3 collectors arrays on the map. We're going to see... Oh, there we go. So not only collection arrays going down, prisms, which are pretty expensive. They cost as much as 3 workers. They're going to get taken down. So not only are we going to see the collection rates go down, which is how you mine, the economy boosters are also going to fall down. And it's going to be a bit of a switch coming out, an attempted switch coming out of Captain Alex. Now we saw the Animancers. They didn't get their singularities down well enough. And now it's going to be moving into Sabers. They do a ton of damage from range. Apparently they can chop down trees. I wasn't aware of that one. But they do a ton of damage from range. I think it's the highest single target ability in the game. It might be the Flayed Dragon. I'm not totally sure. But anyway, Spriggans, they tried to dive on top. There are a bunch of Argents, so they're going to be okay with that one. But again, harassment, wherever you can find it, is going to be pretty nice. Random Animancer on the high ground. I don't know quite how it got there, but it certainly can't go down. So Spriggans are going to take that Animancer. They're going to knock that off the map. And this Spriggan count, is it enough to deal with the Argents by themselves? It might be. They got full white health, so they're going to run forward. 2 Spriggans die for the cost of 1 Argent, but a lot of energy spent as well. I don't know. Do we have the Argent upgrade? I don't know. That being said, well, it's going to be top bar ability, dropping down the sun, making sure you have the energy as much as possible. But now all the Sabers are dead. Yes, Gaunts can cut away. Yes, Kree are going to try to get on top of them, but the kiting is really, really good. Nightfall Infestation as well. And yes, the Spriggans are dying, but so too are all the Sabers. So too are all the Argents. Hellborn on the backside. This is looking like it's going to do it here. Captain Alex seemingly just a little bit lost in this late game. He got a lot of damage done early. He took down, did a really nice job of taking down his opponent's third base, really slowed Bosse down, but the tech transition didn't really feel like it was quite fast enough. We didn't see the singularities hitting the way they needed to, and it looks like this game is over. Once again, game done. GG. Captain Alex falls down. Bosse takes it 2-1.